This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
And I didn't really want to call Thad out, but you know.
It's unprofessional to be in the media and wear jerseys while you're doing work.
It's podcasting.
We know that, but come on, man.
There's nothing professional about podcasting, no matter what you do. Unless you're, unless you're like what, Ezra Glass or any of those guys. Or what? That name's wrong. Damn it. Anyway,
I did this for Chad.
I appreciate it. I'm not
Robert
wearing
is-
a jersey, so.
Robert's the one person that liked that jersey.
Wow.
Oh,
Damn.
wow.
Swiss dots? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I actually
like
still
the
really,
Swiss
I still
dots.
really like that jersey. I do wish that the
Yeah.
Why aren't we
parts of it were
recording
different.
this part? I guess we are.
We are actually.
Yeah. I still really like the Swiss Dots jersey, both on and off the record.
Chad
Oh,
knows
yeah,
I'm
same.
giving him shit. Chad knows it.
That's hard to please with jerseys, I think.
Yeah,
All right, Cody.
but you
Cody,
know I'm
remember your-
consistently hard to please. So
Truth.
You remember your first line this time?
Yeah, I forgot it last time.
back.
Okay. Back at it again with another episode of the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. It's Kit Day, Kit Launch Day.
Woo woo!
Cody Bradley here, Thad Bell, Robert Russert here. Robert and I are both in jerseys because we were smart enough to do it. Thad is being difficult. But
Shocker.
What was that
Shocker.
curmudgeonly you called yourself, Thad, earlier? What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what that word means, but you're a curmudgeon. You're a curmudgeon.
Yeah,
That's how I would describe you.
I'm curmudgeonly, which is being a curmudgeon.
Okay, so it is Kit Day. It's kind of the thing everyone has been waiting for weeks now, as all these other teams were releasing theirs. And
Were we late? Nobody told us. We had no idea we were late.
Right. Yeah. Really.
Your poor social media managers that were having to deal with all of those. I know
That's
that live.
hilarious.
I know that live. So yes, we've got Chad from KC, Chad Reynolds here, the designer of the new jersey.
Well,
And,
that's an exaggeration. But I am one of a team. But we'll take
One
it.
of a
yeah.
team. He
Yeah.
oversees a team that does it. You can call it yours. Come on, claim it. It's okay.
No. It's all of ours. That's the point. It's all
Right.
of ours.
You're the
Oh,
face
that's
of the team.
really-
Oh God,
You're
don't make
really
me the
towing
face
the
of
line
anything.
there, Chad.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, thank you very much for joining.
Wait, Bob just ran
again.
away. Bob
Yeah,
Bob
Bob
is
just-
already done with
can't
this
just do that.
podcast.
Come on, that's
Gotta
a
let the
fine.
dog
Where's
out,
the
man.
fine
We're to
jar?
whine the whole time. My dog's a whiner.
Okay. Robert, are you ready to join us now?
I am. Sorry, my dog.
How much does he find?
I do have the fine jar. You can see it. It's actually sitting right up there, right there. Oh my
Like
thing.
that
I
ever
didn't,
meant
I didn't steal the
anything.
money. Don't worry, guys. So anyway,
Wait,
yes,
I don't remember
Chad is
what
here.
kits do you find? We talked about this last year, and I don't recall now.
Pronouncing the name wrong.
Mispronunciations of name, just
God.
bad form on the radio, clearing your throat, things like that.
There's
It's
a mute
stolen
button on my mic here, so I get the.
Oh, good.
So
See, it works that well.
It does work well. Yes, the fine jar is shamelessly stolen from the Dan Le Batard show. If there's any fans of that one, they're saying, "Oh, they just stole that." Yes, I know I stole it. I'm not clever. So
Everything is stolen at this point.
So Chad, I know today is kind of this is kind of like your Super Bowl, right? There's like been years of work, literal, like we learned last year when you were on, which by the way was a great insight to the whole process. So we won't bug you on too many of the ins and outs again, um we learned last year that this is, a year plus long project here, and so it was all building up to today. So you're here with friends now. Grab a beer, just like take a breath. I know today was probably pretty crazy, but so how are you feeling right now?
No, we, honestly, like we talked about last year, it is a crazy long process. We're really proud. We're really happy. There's a lot of things that we will get into on this kit, I'm sure, that we're really proud about, aside from the aesthetics. It's just a really, really cool story and everything. But you're not joking. It's a long process. We actually started 2023's kit design process last Monday and Tuesday. There was the initial meetings. And so, yeah, we are already ankle deep in 2 years from now, which is crazy to think. But yeah, and then it's really crazy to think that this process started, sometime back I guess it would have been sometime in 2019 around this time, which, you know, none of us had even heard
Yeah.
of the coronavirus or any of the other stuff that has changed in the
Right.
world in the last couple of years. So it's just really weird. It's a very different place than by the time you finish it to where you start it. But we're really, really happy
And
today. Today went well for us.
last year you mentioned, I re-listened to the old pod, and you had said specifically you were excited about 21 and even
Yeah.
22, though, what was coming up. So, and we also talked about how things change, what you envisioned, how it started, and what it the actual final product is. So are you still you're happy with the way it turned out? Is it what you envisioned originally?
I think the best way to put it is this kit is probably the closest to kind of what we put on paper when we first started. We send a mood board to Adidas and we start talking back and forth, and the league gets involved. This is the closest to kind of what was on paper since, gosh, maybe 2013 and State Line or Argyle. Like, this is that spot on. We knew back in
Mhm.
2013, and I could show you at some point the what those concept art pieces looked like and what they ended up being. It was 100% spot on. This is the closest to that maybe since then. Super, super minor changes here and there, mostly for competition's sake. But other than that, we said we really wanted to kind of touch on tradition, what has become a bit of a tradition for us, what has become a bit of an iconic look, not just for sporting, and that we've already had two hoops kits. We're calling this hoops 3.0, but an iconic look in our global game. So
Hoops 3.0 is the official name. I'm digging it. The first looks, I definitely dig it. I like the old hoops jersey. I mean, they're not technically hoops. It's half hoops, but
this is true.
yeah, it's
We call it
I
hoop
think
stripes internally. Hoop stripes is like kind of our running because yes, you're right. A traditional hoop kit obviously goes all the way around, and for competition reasons, we just can't do that. It would be the numbers are harder to see. For example, what color number would we use
Right.
on
Yeah.
this? White's not going to show up enough. You can't go black. You can't go dark blue. We wouldn't want to like call out a random third or fourth or fifth color. Like, I love
Mhm.
Vancouver's kits right now with the red numbers, but there's history behind that. We would just be like picking a contrasting color for a reason. So
Right.
yeah, we can't do that. The hoops can't go all the way to the back, so we call them hoop stripes internally. That's kind of our running joke.
So whenever these drop, what do you guys look for immediate reactions, the knee-jerk reactions on Twitter, the loudmouths and all that, or do you try to avoid it? I'm wondering what you think of the initial reaction here. We're recording this just, an hour or so after this all drops. So I'm curious about the initial reactions.
Um, yeah, you look. Of course you look. Anybody who tells you they don't look is lying to you. But you look, and I think we talked about this last year. You kind of have an inkling ahead of time. You know what I mean? You feel like you've got a good idea of where it might be, how it might be received, and those kinds of things. This one, in particular, we were so proud of, like I said earlier, the story behind it and everything that comes along with it, that we felt pretty good about the reaction. And we know that our fans tend to, we've had a lot of fans asking for hoops to come back. We thought that it was something that people would respond positively to, and thus far, both the kind of the subjective aesthetics and the story behind it have been pretty well received. So yeah, of course you look. It's honestly, when you drop a kit, in COVID times like this, where you can't do a big party and surprise people, you don't really have a choice. We launched it on social media, so we had to track social media to make sure the damn video played, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, man, that party was becoming a staple of
Yeah.
Sporting KC preseason. They were always, very well done. I miss those days. If only we could be around real people again.
well, we're already talking about what can we do pretty cool in 2022. So, hopefully, knock on wood, we're back to normal, and or relative normal, and we can bring the party back bigger and better next year.
So I'm also kind of curious. Hold on, sorry. I'm also kind of curious what your day was like today. I know you guys often seemingly you do way better controlling the leaks than a lot of other teams do. And I know we started seeing on Reddit and whatnot a few images, or at least one image here.
Yeah, Thad sent it to me. Thanks, Thad. It's not Thad's fault. I'm blaming Thad.
Thad broke it.
I was just letting you know it's out there, man.
No, we appreciated it.
We had a battle internally, like people wanted to post it, and I'm like, it's only like 3 hours away, man. Just shut up.
Wait,
do you guys do you think that you have like more strict rules than other teams? Like, do you take steps that do keep the leaks in check more so than other teams?
I think maybe we just, and maybe we talked a little bit about this last year. I think maybe sometimes we care more, and so we ask more questions. And no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, literally, like, we're the annoying guys who ask the league a million questions and Adidas a million questions. I'm sure we are. I'm sure that that behind the scenes, that's kind of what they think of us. But and it's probably because for us, kind of that storytelling side of it is so important. That was the big one on this one, with obviously the Victory Project being on the chest and the quote unquote jersey sponsor, if you want to call it that. It was very, very important to us that, given everything that's going to happen this year with the campaign we're calling A Force for Good around the Victory Project and Children's Mercy, and that this not come out from some kind of random place online, some random Twitter account or anything like that, that we wanted to make sure that the first time the vast majority of our fans saw this, they saw it on a Children's Mercy patient. They saw it on a Children's Mercy provider. They saw it the way we wanted to present it, which was in this story around, hey, this is a chance for us to give back to our community. Frankly, no secret for anybody, it's been a weird couple of years. It feels like a couple of years. It's been a weird year.
Yes, it does.
And so that we wanted to make sure that was the story that was kind of first and foremost in everybody's minds, was this is a give back campaign. This is a community focused campaign. This is Jake Reed standing there and telling everybody in that video, the same way he would have had we had a big party, these are the 4 things that we're really going to focus on this year with our Force for Good campaign. And here's how we're going to do it. And so that was important to us. And so, maybe, Cody, to answer your question, we go out of our way to try and control that message. Very much so. It doesn't always work. We were really, really close this year. What were we, 2 hours out? We were really close to making it this year. Where literally the first time saw it was on Benjamin, who was our Children's Mercy patient / actor. I'll call him an actor. He's not even an actor. He just was willing to be in that video for us. And
he's just a natural at acting.
Absolutely a natural. The kid was great. Man, we could do an entire podcast about that kid on set. He was a blast. But no, it is important to us to control that story, not from like we want to control the message, pound on a table kind of thing, but it's like, there's a story behind it for a reason. We'd like to tell that rather than just it coming out. So yeah, I don't know. Also, we didn't have the jerseys for the longest time. We just got them like 2 weeks ago. so that makes it a little easier to keep the leaks from happening, because it means it's not sitting in a box on a retail, at a retail store.
Right.
We
Okay,
did
so now that
specifically
you
request that.
now that you have them, I'm waiting for mine to show up. I'll send you my address.
Make a
after
big
this.
donation to the Victory Project, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. All right. Tax deductible. Easy.
Yeah.
All right. So the question I have, hope it's okay, Cody. So you talked about how you've already started the next kit, looking at it, what you're going to do. How much of this kit, okay, who first brought up the idea of let's put the Victory Project on the front? That's the first part of it. That's part A of my question.
Part A. The answer to that question is I don't remember. It might have been John Monca, who's our exec VP of Stadium and Brand Revenue. It might have been Jake Reed, our president. It might have been me. It might have been Aaron Bournes, who's our VP of marketing. I say that I genuinely don't remember. I do remember that as we had conversations around, hey, we knew the Ivy Investments deal was ending.
Right.
And we knew that we were going into, as that was kind of happening, as we were having these conversations spring of last year, obviously the world was shutting down and things were going on. I will tell you guys, when we did this podcast a year ago, I could not have told you who was going to be on the jersey. It wasn't like, it hasn't been that long of a conversation. It's probably been 6 or 9 months, maybe, of conversation. And then,
that is a question that I had about this. I assume this was added some level of difficulty. Like what if a month ago could they have sold a sponsorship, the kid sponsor, a month ago, and then you would have been like, oh crap? There's
definitely a kind of point of no return. There's on this. I don't know. That's a really good question. Had a month ago somebody have come in with, several $1 million, I don't know how that, what you do in that situation, because I tend to think, and maybe I'm giving people, a lot of credit here, but I tend to think we probably wouldn't have changed course, because this, like, the story mattered so much and what we wanted to do with it mattered so much at that point. I think maybe 6 months ago or 9 months ago, it might've been a different conversation, when this was just starting. But the long and short of it was, this is kind of a thing that we feel, we have a responsibility to our community. We have a responsibility to kind of our heritage. We don't go back and talk about the Livestrong thing all that often for a variety of reasons. But I mean, let's, we put a charity on the stadium when we could have sold the stadium back in 2011, because it was a cool thing and it was the right thing to do. And there was a chance to kind of do something different and special. And I that's what I've liked from the moment this conversation came up about the Victory Project was, okay, if we know it's a really weird market and it maybe just wouldn't feel right to turn around and put, I don't know, a construction company or a bank or a whatever on the jersey in the middle of all of this, why not go out and do something different? And that we, I'll probably say a force for good 1 million times on this call, but I mean that, like, it was like, how do we do something that we can actually make our community better? It started last spring. We did Community Kitchen last spring where we did, something like 60,000 meals for people in Kansas City, Kansas, straight out of our stadium kitchens. And then obviously during the playoffs, we did the campaign around masks where the fans, literally the fans, donated 40,000 meals to harvesters by purchasing masks. Like those kinds of things were like, it's I guess that's the best answer. As we talked about playoffs last year, we said, this is a really weird year to do a chest thumpy playoff campaign. Like, with everything going on, we know we can't have a full stadium. We know we can't have the same kind of thing that we normally would. So what can we do that's different and does justice to the moment that we're living in right now? And that's where that came from. And this was kind of the same kind of thing, is what can we do that actually puts us in the moment that we're in, acknowledges it, doesn't run from it, doesn't ignore it, but maybe we can do some good with it.
All right, so give me some juicy details there. You said you let that slide in there if someone came in with a couple $1 million. Is that what's the number we were looking for? What does the jersey sponsor cost? What's the crowdfunding I need to do?
There's a reason I don't work in sales. I don't know the answer to that question, honestly. I mean, I know the league has guidelines. There are rules about what it costs. There are rules about how long the deal is. I don't know that I'm allowed to get into what those rules are, so I won't.
Right.
But
Smart man.
there
Of
are,
course you're not.
yeah, there are rules, and it's all about, it's mostly about doing it the right way. You know what I mean? It's like the league doesn't want somebody to come in on a short-term deal and then bounce and be like all of that kind of stuff, or quite frankly, come in and undercut the value of what other teams are selling theirs at, because that and it really is an interesting thing, is that we always say that the jersey front partner is the most unique sponsorship in sports. It literally doesn't exist in any other sport. And truthfully, there's only 27 of them in America, which makes it cool and unique on its own. Now there's hundreds of them around the world, and you look at what other clubs have done where they, some clubs will have, the same partner on their jersey for decades, and some will have them, rotating basis, et cetera. And so I think MLS has done a really smart thing by having these kind of rules around them so that it doesn't, become a rotating door as much as you can possibly not make it a rotating door. And it doesn't, ever devalue itself by just give it to, Joe's Party Garage, which is not a real business, but it's one we joke about a lot. So,
and you don't add
Nice.
10 different sponsors to the kit, like a NASCAR or a Mexican league or.
Yeah.
well,
No kidding.
and that's the other thing too, is, I think MLS has been really smart with the way they've approached not just jersey front partnerships, but sleeve partnerships too. It's the same kind of thing, as you don't like, it took a long time to get there. It took a long time to get there because they wanted to make sure they did it right. And for my part, I'm pretty happy that the rules exist from like it needs to be a one color logo. It needs to be in your team color kind of stuff, so that you don't end up with what you see in Liga MX, which is sometimes a little all over the place. It's a
They're
little
running
NASCAR.
billboards.
Yeah.
Can we
Okay,
add like
so-
another jersey sponsor, like between the next set of
In
bars?
the next stripe down.
Yeah, like just like layer. There's the top tier, the second tier.
Thad, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that so that the sales guys don't get ideas.
Yeah, they've already got the sleeve. A lot of teams are selling the sleeves, so that's the next
Yeah.
step, I think.
Yeah.
It's like
We have a sleeve. We have the sleeve. We have Compass Minerals is on one sleeve, and
Right,
Children's
yep.
Mercy now on the other. So
So Chad,
Okay, so let's take
Oh,
we're
go
gonna
ahead.
take a quick break, and then we will be right back. Chad, I'm gonna make you sell it to us like a fashionista, like we're on the Home Shopping Network. I want to make you sell it to us. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right. Now that we've got some sneak peeks at the players wearing the jerseys, they look good. They all look good. Busio with the glasses, Alan Polito sporting it. That's what's gonna get people going. Like Polito wearing it, like hell yeah. But first, I don't want you to imagine those guys wearing it. I want you to sell this jersey to us. I'm going to set the stage for you. Imagine Thad Bell walking down the runway in the jersey. We're selling it to the world, the fashionistas of the world. And I want you to describe this kit for us in an intellectual way, and sell it to the masses here.
And nobody
Wow.
wants to see me
Hey,
walking the runway.
sex sells. So Thad is your model. You're already halfway there.
right.
He's strutting his stuff. He's ready to go. Just
Thad's got a
with
new
the-
haircut. He's looking good.
My wife gave it to me.
Mine gave mine to me, and then she said she would never do it again. So,
That's why we're in a hat.
yeah, right. Always, but that's just my thing. But yeah, that's because I'm losing my hair, Bob.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that. Come on.
No, I mean, listen, we have said for years that it's very important to us that the jerseys that our guys wear on the field are something that the fans in the stands feel comfortable wearing on a game day, but also maybe even more importantly on a non-game day. You should be comfortable, wearing this in a bar on a Friday night, or rolling to the grocery store on a Saturday, or whatever else. We want this to be something that you think you look good in year round, essentially. And there is very few looks in the history of our game more iconic, maybe no looks in the history of our game more iconic than hoop soccer jerseys, and so that was something that we were really looking to on this jersey, was kind of in a weird way telling our own history around that, but also telling the history of the game around that. I mean, if you go back to where soccer jerseys came from, and we could get way into the sartorial history of the sport tonight if we want to, but but if you really look at the history of the game, when soccer teams and clubs started jumping up in the late 1800s, what was happening was that at first the way you denoted your teammate was by hats. Your team would come out and your team would have the red hats on, the other team would have the blue hats on, and then somebody somewhere was like, well, we should do shirts. And because you got to remember, the game at the beginning, the very early versions of like soccer clubs and what we now know as like sports clubs and leagues were absolutely 100% a rich man's game. And
Oh yeah.
you could not be a part of the league or the team unless you could afford to be a part of that club and to be a part of that club.
I've watched the English game on Netflix.
So the English game the English game breaks it down really well because that's where the striped jerseys came from. Was you had to go to a tailor and get a striped jersey made. That wasn't something you could just buy on the street, or whatever, or dye yourself at home necessarily. So so that's where striped jerseys came in. It was a sign of class essentially in our sport in the late 1800s. And so obviously the 50 year tradition of soccer jerseys, and there's a reason, because they look damn good and they will always look good. And if I walked into a bar tonight, not that I'm going to bars these days, one, because it's COVID, two, because I'm old, but like if I walked into a bar tonight and I saw somebody wearing a Celtic jersey with jeans, it would look great because it's looked great forever. You know what I mean? Like the hoops look good for a reason. And so that's kind of what when we set out doing the first hooped kit, Hoop 1.0, as we now call it, in 2014. That was a 2014 kit. That was how we designed it and why we designed it. And then when we brought it back in 2016 as kind of the tonal hoops, it was the exact same thing. And so this was just kind of really it was a take on that. Was, we know this looks good. We know our fans like it. We know it looks great on the pitch, and it'll look really good on a Friday night in a bar.
So here we have Thad Bell entering the runway. The debonair man himself. Just as comfortable on the training ground as he is dancing in the clubs.
I like it. See, what Thad brings to the runway, it's that turn. Like, he just nails that spot, and then the turn is...
It's the military precision.
That's it. That's it.
Right.
That's true. You would have a good turn, Thad.
Well,
So Chad, I'm sure you'll tell us about some of the features that some people may not have seen on the collar, etc. But is there anything special about the hexagon kind of texture that's there as well?
I'm sure if I had my sell sheet from Adidas in front of me, it would have a name. I'm sure it does. No, it's a really cool looking, like, and I wish I had one of the jerseys here with me, and I don't. Wait, do I? Nope, I don't.
Whatever. You got those sitting all around your house, I bet.
I actually no. I actually think it's in the trunk of my car right now.
You were supposed to drop that off to me, man.
Yeah, sorry.
yeah. Still waiting on mine in the mail.
No, it looks really cool up close though, Robert. It's different. I don't think we'd seen that pattern from those guys before. It looks really cool up close. You'll see, it's interesting. It catches light. When we get into like photographing it and things like that, it's pretty reflective, which is kind of cool too. It gives things a bit of an extra texture and a bit of an extra dimension.
That's kind of what I was about to ask there. It is essentially like how would you even describe the differences between this and that first hoops, the 2014 hoops? I mean, it is essentially the same thing, but yeah, I mean, it's like the material is obviously different. It's like not necessarily as shiny, I guess, or glossy perhaps.
Yeah.
But so yeah, what are the slight differences here between that original hoops?
Well, the biggest one is actually it's the width of the hoop stripes, the width of the hoops. And that's,
skinnier indigo.
Yeah, skinnier indigo. And that was well, that one had more hoops too. Everything was a little bit thinner. These are a little bit bigger on this one. But that one specifically was like even 50% sporting, 50% indigo. And then obviously the back of the jersey was indigo. So it was a dark kit or with dark shorts. Basically, and I think we talked about this last year, we were told at one point, you guys can never do hoops again. It was a competition nightmare because our colors are so contrasting that you would get, you get the light and you get the dark. And so when we went to Adidas in the league on this kit and we said, guys, we really, really want to bring the hoops back. How do we make it happen? basically the answer was no at first. And then after that, the answer became, well, okay, if you can figure out a way so that it's not 50-50. We need a, and I don't remember, I probably could go back and email and find it. I don't remember the exact split number, but there was an actual number of your kit needs to be this much light and this much dark. And so that's why, if you go and look at this, MLS competition committee was very clear from an on-field perspective. We talk about it's got to be able to be worn in a bar. Well, first and foremost, the guy's got to be able to wear it on the field and be able to tell who the hell is who.
Yeah.
There's very clear, this is a light color and this is a dark color per league guidelines. It's very much like broken down. Our dark is a dark color. Our dark indigo is a dark color. Our sporting blue is our light color. Therefore, you can't have X percentage. Let's say it's 30%. I don't know if that's the right number of dark color on your kit. And that equation both does and does not include shorts and socks. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of standalone and taken as a whole kit. And so, the initial version of this was basically concepted as 50-50 in our first conversations, sporting blue and indigo stripes. And before it goes anywhere else, it goes to MLS competition, and MLS competition gets involved and says, okay, they could wear this on the field against the other 27 or 28 teams' jerseys. Because no matter what, you have to be able to wear it against somebody's primary or secondary. So, so that was the biggest single difference, aside from it being sporting blue based instead of indigo based, is that the stripes here are not even, and that's the why.
So a lot of what we've talked about is, I remember last year it seemingly was with the, kind of bold, unique design of the Swiss dots. It seemed like Adidas would have been the bigger barrier on what you could and couldn't do. So it's the MLS competition committee and Adidas are the ones, you have your design, you have to fight them to get what you want to get done. But it seemed like, after all this time, you kind of knew what Adidas was going to be able to do. Like you guys have been dealing with them long enough here.
We have a really good relationship with some folks, both on the Adidas side and at the league side. And we know, and maybe it's just a practice that John Monca and I have been doing this together now for 10 years. We've been in those conversations with 10 years, and sometimes, some of the people from the league or Adidas are the same or different. And some people have gone from Adidas to the league, in kind of similar roles and that kind of stuff. But we have a really good relationship and a good understanding now of what that process is, even if the process has changed, and kind of, what's the word? It's changed over the years, essentially. So that helps because we know the right questions to ask sometimes, and we know the right ways to frame things so that we can kind of get our message out there. And as we talked last year, where we start isn't always where we finish off, and what the final of the kit looks like. But this one, for a variety of reasons, was on point from the beginning, from us, from Adidas, from the league. Everybody was kind of on board with like, this is the right way to go. We talked last year about how important it was for us to get back into our colors and be very, grounded in what sporting blue and indigo means. And that's our brand. And there's nothing more iconic than there's nothing more iconic in sports than a soccer team's jersey, and turning on a TV, you should know who that is. And that was very much
as you said last year. You put it really well last year. It was just, you were a kid, your team was red. You saw a red team on TV, and now you're a fan of Liverpool, 30 years later still. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
And if you what's really funny is you can basically go out and buy a version of this jersey right now for your youth team if you really wanted to, which is really kind of cool to me to say, hey, if there's a youth team in Kansas City that wants to go out and look like Sporting, it won't be the exact same colors. It certainly won't be the logo. It's, won't be those things, but they have the opportunity to go out and make that jersey for their youth club, which is really, really cool to me. The same way that my YMCA team, when I was 4 years old, we said we all want to wear all red, and like, there's nothing more iconic in sports than a soccer team, and you turn on the TV and you see it. That story is poignant, at least for me, for a reason. And hopefully you turn on the TV and you see sporting blue and indigo and you go, that's Sporting.
So is this it? Are the hoops our thing? Are they our La Albi Celeste like Argentina and the the five stripes of Atlanta? Are the hoops going to be our thing going forward?
I would say the answer to that question is not yet decided. I think I mentioned last year we have a 7-year kit plan. You know, we know what we want our jerseys to look like, you know, down the road. And the reason we have that is so it's on paper and we can always refer back to it. It doesn't mean we have to stick to it, you know, if the right thing gives us a reason to change it. But it's rooted in our traditions. It's very much built around like I was saying earlier, what's a traditional soccer kit and what's a traditional sporting kit mean? Like, what is that? And so that when you turn on the TV, you know that's a sporting jersey. That this is a sporting game because that's a sporting jersey. It's this, it's this, it's this. You know, whatever those traditions might be, whether it is hoops or hoop stripes, or it's State Line, or it's Argyle, or it's, you know, whatever else we might kind of throw into that bucket eventually. It needs to be rooted in something.
On that same line of you mentioned your 7-year plan there. One of the questions we had from on our
what's the 2028 kit look like? No,
yeah. Give us a preview of next year, man. No, he was wondering about, you know, the changes from Adidas, like any changes that Adidas have made in going forward, or rules that they have going forward. How much does that impact a 7-year plan that you have? Does that throw a kink into things, or what?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the plan exists so that we can change it. You know, the plan exists so that we have it to start. And like I say, we don't have to stick to it. It's kind of like brand guidelines. I always tell people companies have brand guidelines. Sporting has brand guidelines. We have brand guidelines so that they exist, so that we have a rule to point to if any question ever comes up, right? It doesn't mean we can't break it or we can't rewrite it, or, you know, it's there so we at least have a baseline. And that's where the 7-year kit plan is. What could be interesting, and I know there's been a lot of conversation around this, around third kits and things like that with the league. We'd love to add a third kit, and a third kit would probably change our 7-year plan. And you know,
would all the fans, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I can point to our sales numbers from the last time we had a third kit and say, we'd love to have a third kit. You know what I mean? But like that would probably change it if for whatever reason. Maybe it's this year. Maybe it's because we sell a boatload of units because people really want to jump behind what we're doing with the Victory Project and A Force for Good, and because they love the way the kit looks, and that's a great combination. And suddenly we hit that threshold that only Atlanta United is hitting in MLS right now, and we can roll the third kit. The crazy part about that is we won't even know that for another calendar year, and then we wouldn't hit the third kit for another 2 years after that. So
yeah,
it's
that's
like
a flaw in that system, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a complication. So that's the reason that 7-year plan is not written in Sharpie. You know, it's written in pencil, dark pencil, because we'd like to stick to it if possible. But
okay, but on that 7-year plan, I'm not going to bug you too much about it. Is one Argyle jersey among 7? Is there an Argyle jersey among them?
Listen, there's a reason that Argyle is featured on the back of this kit. There's a reason that hoop stripes are back. Tell. It's a part of our brand. And I'd be lying to you if I said we hadn't considered an Argyle kit. I'd be lying to you if I said we haven't considered how we would want to do Retro Wizards someday. We'd be lying to you if you said what's the next version of State Line or any of those things. We consider all of that, and there's a lot of that laid out in our thought process. Not all of it makes the plan, you know, for whatever reason. You know, we talked about last year. By the way, go listen to last year's pod. Apparently, we talked about a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, we did.
No, we talked about last year how Argyle. We wanted to do Argyle for the black kit in 2018, the one you have on right now, Cody, and we wanted Argyle to be a big part of that. But the way we did Argyle in 2013 and 2015 didn't work with the way the sponsor mark had to be presented on the 2018 kit. So it's like, sometimes people are just like, it's really funny. You ask if we read the comments. Sometimes you read the comments, just do Argyle again. And it's like, well, it's not as simple as just doing Argyle again. It's the same way, you know, one of the comments we were laughing at today, and, you know, it happens. People I was just like, this must have taken 3 minutes to design, which was one of the very few, kind of negative comments we saw on this kit. And for the most part, people seem really pleased with it. But it's like, yeah, no, there was a lot more that went into it, you know, like, again, MLS competitions involved, all these other things. And so,
well, I'm glad you said all that about we'd be lying if we didn't try this or think about this, because I think that's what a lot of it's just I hope fans understand like that it's fans of the team. Like you're a Kansas City guy, like you're a
Yeah.
soccer fan in Kansas City, and so it's like anything that all these people are hoping for, you just have to know that of course they've thought about it, they've toyed with it, they've tried to do it, they've got a plan for it in the future. Like anything that these people are like wanting, that they think, oh well, why is there not Argyle this year, whatever,
Listen,
obviously it's all in the works or attempted.
and again, there's I feel very strongly, and I think you'll see from us going forward, at least through the next, let's call it the 7-year plan again, that everything that we do needs to be based in what sporting means to us, and what sporting, what our brand represents. It's sporting blue and it's indigo, and it's whatever these kind of additional storytelling elements are, whether you see them as the baseline, like the full dessert jersey design, or you see them in, we call them the kit sign-offs, the jock tags, the neck tapes, the back neck treatments, all of those kinds of things, right? We know that we want to represent those elements in a myriad of different ways on the kit, right? That doesn't mean that I don't really love it when Manchester City drops a third kit that's paisley and it looks insane. And it's like I don't know that I would wear that, but it was dope. It's awesome,
I love that you said that. I'm a citizen. Like I love all those crazy jerseys that they've put out.
And there's a very good friend of mine, a former designer for me here at Sporting, is the guy who works on PSG's kits for Nike, and he works on the French national team kits for Nike, and like to talk to him about what their process is like and all of those kinds of things. And it's like, PSG just dropped that pink and purple and I don't even know how you describe that. It's so unique and so different. It's also like their 5th kit this year. If you go look at PSG's first kit, guess what? It looks like PSG. And so we know that we're playing in a sandbox right now that is a primary kit and a secondary kit. And we know that we want those both to tie back to sporting and what that means to us from the starting point. That doesn't mean that if this third kit thing does happen sometime, it won't be bonkers. I have no idea. I genuinely don't know right now. If we were told tomorrow, what do you guys could have a third kit in 2022 because you sold so many of these kits on opening day or whatever, I have no idea what it would be, because we'd have to go back to that 7-year plan and say, how do we want to change what we've talked about storytelling wise in that process? And then we'd have to say, okay, well, when does the third kit roll out? 2022. Is there a story? Is there a reason? Is there an anniversary? Is there a something like that we want to play off of? Because all of those things matter when you roll this out. To me, it's not just as simple as like, here's a kit, here's a jersey, like here's something that looks like us. We have those conversations ad nauseum. Me, John Monca, Aaron Borns, Thomas Earl, who's on our retail side. Peter cares greatly about what these kits look like and those kinds of things. Our ownership cares. Those conversations happen. I mean, if I had a nickel for every text message that group of kind of 4 or 5 people sends to each other when jerseys drop from around the world throughout the year, I probably would not be working in sports anymore, so.
Well, so just briefly, like I overall am very pleased. I love to see the hoops come back, and I also have seen, the repeated use of the Argyle in there, and I've taken that as you were kind of alluding to, a bit of a statement that you guys know that is something that's becoming embedded in the brand. And so those are the 2 styles that I would like to see. And hey, there are 2 jerseys, so in theory they could keep coming back. So yeah, I'm very much pleased with all this. I like the hoops. I think that the half hoops that can become the look of Sporting KC. And then yeah, it's good to know that you guys see that the fans like the 3 Argyle diamonds. So yeah,
well, I'm
very pleased overall with all of this.
We also know that the fans love the retro stuff to a certain extent. We've been running a poll on our Twitter the last couple of days that around, what was one of your favorite jerseys in club history, and thankfully, I actually don't know what ended up winning. I should probably look that up. It was either the Charlie Brown.
I didn't see the result of that one.
It's either the Charlie Brown 98 or the hoops from 2014. Which there were other kits that weren't on there. You guys know me. I will stand for the State Line kit all day, every day.
Hell yeah.
But
Yep.
There's other kits that are out there that weren't on that poll for whatever reason. But yeah, it's really funny when I look back at our history and it's like, well, do something retro. And it's like, dude, look at the Charlie Brown kit. That was kind of hoops, that was kind of V1
Yeah.
in a weird way. It was a very, 90s rainbow version of it,
Oops,
but no,
beta.
but yeah, hoops. It was definitely beta. It was,
Well,
yeah.
and speaking of the state line, that is one, I think unanimously fans would love to see that as the sporting kit. But we did talk a lot about last year on difficulties of doing that and pushback from Adidas and the league, and that it's not necessarily the easiest thing to get done. I've kind of accepted that one, but
You can't.
I hope one of those is in the 7-year plan. You've got an iteration of it to bring back, is what I'm hoping.
Look, they're all you talk about Argyle. It's a brand element at this point.
Mhm.
It will never be. We talked a little bit about last year how like Argyle's hard to own because it's so ubiquitous in golf. It's so ubiquitous in North Carolina, especially in the light blue. You can't like just be Argyle. Also, guys, it would get boring. I always tell the fans that if we just rolled the same Argyle kit every year, it would get boring.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing as if we roll the exact same hoop kit every year, it will get boring. If we rolled the exact same state line kit, it would get boring.
Yeah.
Unless you're Liverpool or the Dutch national team, it's hard to pull off the exact same, one look, no change, one note design forever. You got to have 200 years of history behind you.
And you got to be bright orange also.
You got to be bright orange. Yeah. Well, but even that though, like the orange is tied to the Dutch royal family. There's a reason for the orange,
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I mean, again, I'm a Liverpool fan. The pushback when Liverpool added that.
My condolences, by the way. Rough time
It's
for now.
been rough.
Thanks, Cody.
2 months. Yeah. But with the pushback when Liverpool added that teal down the side to the kit this year, which by the way looks great, it's awesome. People freaked out, and it was just like, why would they add teal? And then people are like, well, have you looked at the Shankly gates? They're kind of already like this muted greenish teal color. That's why, but it was like, how do you go against tradition like that? Or the pushback when Juventus went to the split kit a couple of years ago. It's like, how do you go against tradition? Because you can't just do the same damn thing every time. Inter Milan's a great example with their current kind of like sideways zigzag chevron is a perfect example of a cool way to take a traditional look that is iconic for their club and turn it into something new. AC Milan doesn't always have the same widths on their stripes. And
I noticed Barcelona kind of did something along the lines. It's not the same, I think they went down to just the 3 stripes, but it's still, it's a change on the element, but you can still identify it as good old Barcelona.
And that's the key on the state line is where we kind of started this conversation. That's the key with the state line is if we rolled out that exact same kit again, people would be like, well, I've seen this before. I've bought this before. I've done like, so the question becomes, how do you do it in a new and different way that still feels the same way or still feels special or still tells the same story and matters, like that's and it may not in any way be a literal take. Here's a good example. This year's hoops kit is essentially an inverse in a lot of ways of an old hoops kit, right? If we rolled an inverse of the old state line kit, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't look good. I know that because we looked at it. We did the mock-up. We tried it years and years and years ago, and it wouldn't look good. We wouldn't want to do that. So how do we evolve it into something new if we go back to state line in the future? How do we evolve Argyle into something new? How do we evolve hoops if we continue with it? So that's always the really fun part of these conversations is coming up with a cool new way. And it's hilarious to see, like you see mock-ups all over the internet, and there's some really cool ideas out there. There's also some really terrible ideas, and there's also some really impossible to pull off ideas, because of execution or partner or whatever. And it's but on the back end, that's where we start too. We start with the same kind of, I thought that was a really cool looking kit or a really cool thing that somebody did, or drawing it out the same way that a lot of the mock-ups that you see online. I mean, the process is really not all that different from some of that world, which is kind of funny to think about.
Well, Thad, if you've stopped eating Cheez-Its, do you have a question you want to ask Chad? If there's nut Cheez-Its in your mouth, there better not be Cheez-Its in your mouth while you ask this.
Of course not. Actually, he answered one of the questions I was going to ask him was, if they did allow you the third kit, do you have one already ready? But
Paisley, back to no, no, I genuinely don't.
Yeah.
I do love that kit, by the way. It's again, it's exactly what a third kit should be. It's kind of bonkers
Yeah.
and weird. I think if we went third kit, my gut, and this is just absolutely just out of my gut. I think if we did third kit, it would be really weird for us to not do something in Wizards colors. Like we talk about being sporting, and that's where we need to be, and for our primary and our secondary, but that feels like the right playground for third kit, because we've always wanted to wear those retro training tops. We've always wanted to wear those in a game, and the players ask constantly, why can't we wear these in a game? And it's like, well, that feels like the time that the right way to go back to that, because
MLS will fold on that one of these days. They'll bend on it a little bit. They'll at least implement a weekend, like a retro weekend or something where you guys could do.
I mean, that's the funny thing to me though, is it's like people are just like, do the rainbow, do the whatever, Charlie Brown or the Lifesaver or the original 96 kits again. And we could as a secondary kit sometime. But wouldn't it be kind of weird if that was the secondary kit, like the kit that our team was wearing on the field 17 to 20 times a year?
Yeah.
And you turn on the TV and everything else about this club is this. And then now there's just this, I think it would sell like crazy. Totally agree. It would sell like crazy because the retro is cool again now. Never mind the fact that the 19-year-old kids who want to buy it now never would have been caught dead wearing it in 1998. But it's retro cool. And I wish the rules were a little bit more lax. I understand why they're not, from a production timeline and schedule and how, crazy it is to do that. And how much easier it is to make a basketball jersey. So that's why the NBA can get away with them that we can't, or whatever. So, I guess that to answer your question, that's where my head goes. If I had to just pick one right now, we'd probably go rainbow, but also that doesn't mean that there's not a really cool idea out there for something completely off the board that we've never done that would be fun to do. I don't know.
So one more. Go ahead.
If you did get a third kit, how often would you get to wear it?
There's rules around that too, and I don't remember what they are because we haven't had one since 2015 or 2016. Yeah, I don't remember. But again, it's another one of those things that you don't want to overtrade in it. You don't want to wear it too often that it becomes not special anymore too. Right. I had a conversation one time. Peter Vermees, as we all know, Peter Vermees cares about kind of every detail on everything. Peter Vermees one time asked me why we don't use the font that is sporting in the crest for everything. And we were talking, specifically around the design around the training center. And I said, well, there's two reasons. Number one is because it's not a font that lends itself to everything. It's not the most readable font for signage or something like that from a distance. If you need to see that that's room 201, it's probably easier to see that in a traditional sans serif font than it is in Agency, which is what that font is based off of. Two,
Agency, got it.
Yeah, no, that's no secret. It's Agency FB Bold Extended is what it was based off of. It's a custom version of it, but it was based off of that. Designed here in Kansas City by Luke Lisi, good friend of mine, fantastically talented designer. Anyway,
fun facts.
But the real reason is if we used it on everything, it's no longer special. And that's the same reason we don't put Argyle. We tell partners, a lot of partners want to use the Argyle because it's a cool brand element, right? But we have to say, if we put it on everything, it no longer has the meaning that it has where it gets kind of a limited use. And so that's the way I've always felt about kind of the Wizards retro stuff on a secondary kit. And it's the same thing with third kits, is if you wear the third kit 15 times, it's not really a third kit. It's just another kit at that point. And it doesn't have the special use. You'd like to develop rules around it. We're going to wear it for continental competitions or open cups or something like that, whatever. So that's a really good question. I should actually look into that for when we sell, a boatload of these jerseys and we can get a third kit again in a couple of years.
Yeah.
How many times can we wear it?
Does MLS control what you wear in the Open Cup, since that's not their competition?
No, but U.S. Soccer does have a say.
So could you have a third kit for U.S. soccer games only?
And it's probably all the same people that work for the same committee.
The answer to that question, Thad, is probably more complicated than this, but No, we couldn't, because obviously we have a contract with Adidas. And so we'd have to, that's like, we'd have to go to Adidas to get another jersey made. And now we're talking like ridiculous overhead for them to create a third jersey for what, maybe one game a year, because of Open Cup or something like that. So like the boring logistics of it get in the way sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, so one more thing here. Last year I wanted to hear you just boast about how bad everyone else was in MLS and why your jerseys were just so much cooler. And you didn't you said you wouldn't talk shit on any other MLS team, but I've noticed a thing this year at least is a lot of them are rather plain. And also I was curious about is it part of the marketing tactic that you were waiting for all these other teams to come out this year and you guys wanted to come out on top at the end and be like, boom, look how much better ours is? Or was it just design elements or the marketing packages around it weren't ready yet? I was just curious.
I appreciate that you think of it that way. No, it wasn't that.
I'm a marketer. I'm a marketing nerd a little bit.
No, honestly, it was the timing on this was far more practical than that. We always knew we wanted to be later in the cycle for a variety of reasons, but frankly, we didn't have the jerseys. We just didn't plain have them in hand, so we couldn't do the photo shoot, the video shoot, the everything we needed. We were originally supposed to launch a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember the exact dates because it's moved a couple of times, but then the season bumped and everything bumped, and we didn't have the jerseys, and we wanted to make sure we got the shot, the shoot in, and we wanted to make sure that we did what we were able to with the Victory Project and Children's Mercy and those kids and all of that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, no, I'm not, guys, we shot all that last week, and we shot the video that rolled tonight with everything we shot last week. We shot for 9 straight days, either with the players or with Children's Mercy and patients and everything to get this done. So all the stuff that'll roll tomorrow, which is probably today as people listen to this, with the player jersey, right, the players in the jerseys and all, was shot and then, followed up immediately by all the stuff with the Children's Mercy patients and everything. And it was just due to timing. It was just due to scheduling and everything like that. So no, we didn't.
What do you think of all the of some of the other ones around the league? Do people got hot kits this year, or are you disappointed?
Vancouver with they call it the hoop. Vancouver's looks great. It's got history. It's got a story. I love that kit. I always think that they do a really good job, though. I think Vancouver, and maybe I'm biased because their colors are similar, and I know the dudes up there, they're really good dudes.
No, they do good in Vancouver. I always like their jerseys.
And Bell on the front looks good.
It's a great sponsor. It's a great looking sponsor. Not just because of the name, but I get, no.
Leave it up to Thad.
Yeah. No, I like Portland's kit this year. I think it feels very Portland because it is. It's like, they're kind of in the same boat that we are, where the tradition has a reason for a reason. I like Portland's. I love Philly's kit. I call it the Fresh Prince kit. It just reminds me of, I love it. I don't know that to me, that could have been a third kit, and it would have been just an absolutely banging third kit. I think as a secondary kit, it's going to eventually feel a little overplayed. But that's just my take on it. At the same time, I totally respect that. Hey, go have fun with it too. You don't need, everybody doesn't have the same brand. Everybody doesn't have the same brand story. So they don't need to stick to the same quote unquote rules that we would.
Most of them were not going for it. It seems like so many just go rather
safe,
boring, or
I'm pulling
safe
up
is the word I was
I'm pulling
looking for.
up footy headlines right now because I don't remember all of them off the top of my head.
So I mean, just the ones that come out, like Houston is obviously, they're at least unique because they're orange, but again, that was just plain orange. San Jose is also, again, just I guess that's becoming their look, is just the plain blue.
But at least they're royal blue. At least, see, the one thing I love about San Jose is they're the only royal blue team in the league now.
And I guess that's why they're doing it like that, is what I'm kind of just realizing as I say it.
I do wish San Jose's, just if you're going to talk about the 2011 season, or the 2001 season, and that's the why you did it. It's the 20th anniversary of that team, which, by the way, go back and look at their roster. It was insane. But if you're going to go off
when I saw that kit release, yeah.
Romero Corrales, Jimmy Conrad, Zach Gibson. I mean, was D-Row on that team? D-Row was on that team, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you're going to do that, the defining characteristic of that 2001 kit was the white sleeves. So go with the white sleeves and the blue base. That would be my take on it. But I
So,
do.
yeah, I mean, I
think it's
just
a good
don't
looking
ever
kit.
see. I just don't ever see you guys doing that. It seems like Sporting KC will always go a bit more daring or risky on like do you ever see yourself releasing a plain sporting blue kit like that and we would just look like NYCFC?
I don't think so. One, because NYCFC is in the league. I mean, I think that that's like that's
and
that
they've
makes
cornered just the boring plain sky
well,
blue
I mean,
jerseys,
that's
so.
that's the city brand, across the you're a citizen, this, like that's the city brand
Yeah.
across all of cities enterprises is light
It
blue.
is.
And so that's their thing. So I don't know that we would go that way even almost solely because of that. But if you remember 2011, that's where we kind of started in sporting. Now there were two reasons for that. One,
Now that's also a decade ago at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Oh gosh. I mean, yeah, we've changed. A lot of things have changed. But
Yeah, we're old.
we knew we wanted that kit. We knew specifically two things. We wanted to tell the state line story. So that it had that drop needle stitch, the single needle stitch that ran right behind the crest. And it was super important to us that everything line up. And two, we were coming off a year as we designed that, which would have been February of 09. No, is that right? February of 09. I know for a fact that was when we designed that kit. We're in the middle of coming out of our first year at Community America Ballpark.
Yep.
Our first year as Cobalt Blue Wizards. And we're looking at sales numbers that are at the bottom of the league. And the league is looking at sales numbers that are at the bottom of the league. And we always tell people the story that in 2010, our last year as the Wizards, we finished not only dead last in the league, we finished 17th in a 15-team league in merchandise sales. We finished behind generic MLS gear like All-Star gear, and we finished behind the Portland Timbers expansion stuff before they came into the league. I think it was Portland. Might not have been Portland. Might have been Toronto or somebody like that. Whatever expansion team came in right after that, like, we weren't dead last. We were dead effing last in every category possible, right? And so if I'm Adidas and I'm MLS and I'm coming into a thing knowing that you're going to rebrand, the last thing I'm letting you do is something crazy with your jersey.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, keep it simple, stupid. Make sure this brand's going to take before you do anything, weird. Literally, guys, we just saw the same thing with Chicago last year. Everybody criticized their kit for being simple and plain. It was because they didn't know if the brand was going to take, which clearly now it didn't. But I mean, we weren't that far away from that same conversation. And so that was absolutely the point of that kit being all sporting blue with the single drop needle stitch. We knew we had a story we wanted to tell, and we knew we couldn't be too ostentatious because that wasn't our brand yet. We hadn't established a brand yet. So no, I don't think we would ever end up with just a plain for kind of all of those reasons. But at the same time, I don't think we'd end up with I'm trying to think of a kit that's another one that's out there that like, we just won't do the exact same thing that anybody's doing, for example.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of what I like about what the team puts out is that idea that, you don't want to look like everybody else. And I like taking risks. I'm flashy. I'm a flashy guy.
Here's a good example for you. And I as I literally scroll through footy headlines, which yes, we read the comments because yes, we read footy headlines.
Yeah. By the way, do you hate footy headline? Do you know who that guy is? Have you
don't.
Investigated and you're like, I gotta keep it away from this?
I mean,
if you need these people hunted down, Chad, we can do that.
Yeah, well, you've got the military experience. If I need military stuff or runway tips, I go to Thad Bell.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't hate the guy. I mean, I very much hope we don't ever end up there. You know what I mean? I very much hope we get to tell our story the way we want to tell our story. But I'm a fan. I go there. I get it. We all get it. Like, we all track it. It's very funny. But as I go through footy headlines, it's kind of funny because I look at that Dallas kit is an interesting one to me because it's also essentially sporting blue. Where to me it's a little confusing that Dallas has that, NYCFC has that, and I know, and the league knows, thankfully, that we were in hoops this year, so it never bothered me when that came out. I think it's
collectively.
A cool
I speak for Sporting KC Nation when I say "what the hell" to Dallas when they did that. What the hell?
In a vacuum, it's a cool kit. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
bit more like the it's a little bit kind of like that Paisley City kid. It's a little bit like the Manchester United with
Mhm.
I'm blanking on the phrase, the
What are they, the
patterning
pink
to it.
ones?
Yeah, like I get it.
Yeah.
The one they had was it last year. I get it. Melange with the melange to it. I understand it because it's a cool looking kit. To me, the Dallas Tornado weren't light blue. The Dallas Tornado were royal blue and red, at least the version of it that pops in my head. And they talk about that being a reference to the Tornado. Or the Tornado had a baller kit. If you go Google Dallas Tornado, they had some incredible kits that just like do it literally. But I respect that they at least had a story. You know what I mean? And in a vacuum, I think that's a really cool looking kit. I think it's going to look great on the field. Just not necessarily the choice that we would have made from a brand storytelling perspective to make sure kind of when you turn on the TV, that's Sporting Kansas City. When you turn on the TV for the next 2 years or a year, I guess, if there's a team in our color combo, it's 100% Sporting Kansas City. Same thing for Houston. If Houston's going to be orange, they're going to be orange, and it's the closest thing we've got to the Dutch national team in this league. I think Austin's got a really good chance with their green and black, and that look to be iconic in this league. Nobody else has that. Now Portland can't go that now.
We'll see if they miss their chance like Miami did without going all pink the first year. We'll see if they miss their opportunity.
I'm still holding out hope for a really cool all pink Miami jersey at some point.
They'll do it. I feel like they just didn't want to go all out the first year for some reson. I don't know why, but
it's the exact same reason I was just telling you guys about.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't let them.
Yeah, it's being safe because it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
I'm blanking on what's the pink soccer team in Italy? Palermo, right?
Palermo.
Yeah, like Palermo. Like, oh man, like if you go look at Palermo's kits, it's like there's such a cool look there for Miami if they wanted to wanted to go that route, and you can do it in a really clean, classy way too. But it's the same thing with I think we talked about Orlando and gold, and I wish they had used leaned more into